Hello everyone, welcome back to another Doctor Who figure related video. In today's Doctor Who figure related video, I'm finally talking about the summer wave of B&M figure sets, which contains the 10th Doctor set containing 3 David Tennants. I mean, if character options waited till next year, we would have literally been able to have got 3 iterations of David Tennant, literally, which had the 10th Doctor, Meta Crisis Doctor, and then the 14th Doctor. That would have been cool, but you know, this is 2022, we're not there yet with 14th Doctor merch just yet. We have the 8th Doctor set containing 3 Paul McGanns, very cool. And then the main highlight for many people, the History of the Daleks set number 9 containing the Supreme Dalek and the Invisible Dalek, which definitely does look invisible in the packaging. And of course we have number 10 in the History of the Daleks line, the Death to the Dalek set. So the reason why I'm very late to reviewing these sets and sort of doing videos on them is because it's been a right pain trying to get these sets. Figure packs easy, but the Dalek sets have been very difficult trying to get. Thanks to Mel's mom for getting the Planet of the Dalek set, which is the highlight for me. It's a gorgeous set and I can't wait to unbox it. So the way this video is going to work is I'm not going to be reviewing the sets individually. I thought I'd do a big overview of them and more do a sort of a comparison look and give you my thoughts through that way, and do a little bit about the detail, because everybody in the Nans reviewed these sets and I just want to get my video and say this is what I think of this wave, and let's move on to the more exciting stuff, which is the winter wave, which has, you know, the creation of a Dalek set, David Bradley and the TARDIS, which is incredibly exciting. So I thought I'd just do a little roundup of my thoughts on this set and more of, well, this wave, and a comparison of the original figures, what these figures are based off. But if you like your Doctor Who figure related content, then please do consider hitting subscribe if you're new around here. There's plenty of Doctor Who related content about figures on the channel and upcoming in the near future. Once I've got the winter wave, I'll probably do a live stream talking about each set individually, and of course I'll be doing a top 10 figures for 2022. Okay, let's deal with the elephant in the room, this set, the 10th Doctor set. Now, I think there's a good idea here with this set. I think there is potential there with the ball jointed 10th Doctor, but we'll cover that in a minute. I just want to talk about this fella, because this fella is certainly an interesting one. Now, this is based off a Titan comic cover. Doesn't appear in the actual comic itself, but it's there. This is very much a variant for the sake of variants, and I think there are other 10th Doctor costume variants we could have got instead of this. Now, this figure, I think it's a thing. I think that the head sculpt could have been retooled, because you've got this very big sort of giraffe neck and it doesn't really sit well on the raggedy Doctor body very well. And just the skin tone for this figure, if I get the other David Tennant figure, he's got this sort of sickly sort of greenish hue to it. It's like he's a bit of a zombie. It is bizarre, but there is some nice detail. Got a nice sort of weathering on the shirt there. This new sort of tie sort of pattern, which is great, and sort of the little sort of muddy bit on this Converse there and the trousers is all great. And then we move to the back. We have no pinstripes on David Tennant's arse. Now, I think that's a sentence I didn't think I'd say in 2022, but here we are. Now, apparently this is down to because the coat is normally hiding the back of the trousers, that's why it's not been painted. But if I bring in the Raggedy Doctor, don't want to be that person, but the pinstripes are there. You can see they're not there. But yeah, just a quick comparison of the Raggedy Doctor. The shirt is a light blue compared to the Raggedy one, and that's essentially it. The tie is different. The trousers are a little bit more of a brown tinge to it. This has pinstripes on its arse, so this gets full marks. This, I don't know. It's a strange figure. In principle, it's a bizarre figure. Don't really know what you could do with it, but yeah, this set, I have to be honest. You know, I know that everything that Character Options does isn't going to appeal to everyone. I think that there are a lot of new figure collectors out there who want to get their hands on these figures, and this is a great way for people to get David Tennant figures. But David Tennant's 10th Doctor is one of the most accessible figures to get because he was produced that much. It just feels a bit of a bizarre set. But let's move on to the other figures, which I think are fine. I think these are great. I think that this set, I will be honest, is a lot better in hand. This fella, no idea. You can go in the corner there, because, oh, yeah, that's, you can stay there. I just don't know what to make of it. It's alright. So yeah, very much your standard David Tennant figure from 2006. Granted, this was going to be the ball jointed version. I don't know if this was the Pacific David Tennant figure, what would have been in it, or it would have been the blue suited one. I mean, if it was the blue suited 10th Doctor with the ball jointed arms, then this would probably be the definitive 10th Doctor figure, but sadly we are stuck with the 2006 sculpt, which, you know, it doesn't stand the test of time, this figure. I think that David Tennant is definitely a figure, a character, well, the 10th Doctor definitely deserves a sort of design, and I think that this figure, I don't think was done in time or whatever, for some reason. I don't know the full reason, but I think if this figure was in this set, I think this set would be flying off the shelves, more likely. But yeah, this has no pinstripes, and I think, you know, these two figures are based off the Wedding of Sarah Jane. I'll be honest, I think that it's more forgiving, the pinstripes on the trench coat version. I think that it's a really nice sort of vibrant blue. Now, I don't actually have a blue suited coated 10th Doctor out of the packaging. I've got the Evolution of a Dalek set, but I've just not opened it. But here's the standard 10th Doctor in trench coat, so you can see the pinstripes are barely visible on that, so you can forgive it for this, and I think that that figure really does pop within it. We've got the updated sort of paint sculpt there on the jacket, and of course the buttons are now painted on this, which is fine, which is all good. So I think this is much more of a forgiving figure to have no pinstripes. I do like the updated paint apps on it, and it does really pop on the shelf. You can see it's very vibrant, very cool. But we move to this 10th Doctor, again based off the Wedding of Sarah Jane, which certain lights you can't see the pinstripes, but you know, I think that it works okay, to be honest. It just looks a little bit bare. I like the updated blue suit. If we get the original blue suited 10th Doctor, you can really see the difference there in blue. I think that this sort of more reflects the sort of 10th Doctor in the specials era. But yeah, it does look a little bit bizarre from behind not having the pinstripes. I don't know if it would have been too ridiculous having the pinstripes, but it sort of has that sort of celery gate feel to it. It's like Tom Baker not having his scarf, or the 5th Doctor not having celery. It's like, it's a key element of that costume. But yeah, I think that it's alright, it's okay. And that's all you can really say about the 10th Doctor set. It's okay. I think on paper this set has the heart in the right place. I just think the execution just isn't there. Should we take a look at some Daleks? So we have the Death to the Dalek set, containing the one with the machine gun and your standard drone Dalek. Now, out of the two Dalek sets, there's not much to say about this one, because it's very much similar to the other two Death to a Dalek sets, and I have reviewed the 3rd Doctor and Death to a Dalek, so you can check out that review. I'll leave a link below to that. So if you bring in the other Death to a Daleks, which is very satisfying, because there's, I think, 4 in the story of the main group, so it's great to have all 4 of these. So derpy music plays, and we have the other one there. So there are some little changes within this. So we've been given the more vibrant silver, what we've seen on the other 60s Daleks and K1 Robot, which really does make these figures pop compared to the original ones. But the good thing with these is I can swap the guns around, and you know, there's alternative variants for these, so it makes a nice little group. So if you take a look at the machine gun Dalek first, so we don't have the silver on the eye stalk anymore, which is a bit of a shame. The orange is a bit more of a paler orange on the dome lights. Now this has the more Mini Cooper dome light effect, because this is one of the early Daleks released in the character options line, so it doesn't have the ridges on, which is, you know, I guess more accurate, and this is more of a paler orange. Like I said, there's no grey on the eye stalk, which is a bit of a shame. One thing to notice is this Dalek has the new mesh sculpt. I think because these Dalek figures have been, and the moulds are so old now, that I guess they need a bit of an update and tweaking. You can see the mesh is a lot more chunkier on the new one. You can see it's a lot more chunkier. Still maintained the same great level of detailing, what we've come to expect with our classic Daleks, but you can really see the differences in the mesh there, how it's sort of more thinner paneling. I've no idea which is more accurate to them, but yeah, that's the little differences there. And of course we have the new updated metallic finish to the machine gun, which is very nice. So yeah, it's nice to have this Dalek because it's a very unique Dalek, but there is a bit of an elephant within the room. The midsection. It's not been painted all black like the other one, so it does look a little bit weird from the side. I think that this is a factory error. I know that there's a small amount of sets that do have the full black midsection. Now I know that this is an easy fix, but I'm not a customizer. I'm not willing to customize my Daleks to get it accurate, and you know, it's one of those things where you shouldn't have to do it. And I think that this is what kind of lets this set down, is that it's 90% there, but it's just a shame that there are a few things that let this set down. But yeah, very much nice figure to have, nice to have another version. But this is another little fault I have with this set, is the one thing what the history of the Dalek sets prides itself is to make it the closest we're going to get to these props in 5-inch figure form. And you really get that with the 60s sets, you know, with the scuffed up skirts and all that sort of stuff. You know, I think that the Destiny set really brings, and Genesis set, to really bring that sort of back to the forefront. Whereas I think with this set, it's sort of forgotten about, because the one thing I really hoped that this set would have is give the drone Daleks the black gun, and maybe the sort of the black ball joints there. Sadly, that's not the case. We've still got the silver gun. But yeah, if we go to the sort of little comparison, so I've put the original one there. So this is the sound effects Dalek from 2012. So 10 years on, we have the drone Dalek again. So you can see the differences in the sort of colouring of the eye ring. It's a much more darker on the original one there, and the dome lights are frosted on the sound effects version, and these are more clear. So we don't have the oval in the middle, because I guess this is a goon prop. Like I said, we've got the new mesh on this, and of course the midsection is painted black on the original, and of course we've got the two-tone fender there. Now that's all you can really say about the Death to a Dalek set. It's great, it's lovely to have, I really love these Daleks, so it's just a bit of a shame, but it's 90% there. And you know, if that little small changes of having the black gun and the midsection being black, this would be, you know, one of the fun set. Take a look at the final 3-pack in this wave of figures. We have the Ape Doctor set, which I think is more forgiving than the 10th Doctor set, because this harkens back to what the B&M wave, well, series started, getting more hard to get figures and making them more accessible for new collectors. So we have the TV movie Ape Doctor, which, you know, only had one real release, which was the 11th Doctor set back in 2010. And of course we have the Night of the Doctor, Ape Doctor from 2015. So this is a much more appealing set for people. So if we take a look at the TV movie Ape Doctor figure, which is probably the highlight of the set for me. So if we bring in the 11 Doctors Ape Doctor, you can see the differences in the hair straight away. But we have a more sort of accurate, sort of more brown instead of a sort of darker hair colour scheme. We've got more of a refined paint app, which is more similar to the Toys R Us Ape Doctor. So the jacket is pretty much the same colour. It's more of a sort of a glossy finish on the 11 Doctors one, so yeah, it's rather interesting. So we've been given this more metallic finish to the cravat. The waistcoat has now lost its detailing, which I guess makes this figure look a bit more blocky, and makes it a bit more comic book-esque in a way. It feels very much like what you'd see on sort of a BBC book cover, or even sort of a comic book, sort of more simplified version of the comic. Now the waistcoat is this sort of coppery colour, which I don't think is actually accurate. I think that this is much more accurate with this sort of grey waistcoat. I think that this 8th Doctor is based off a certain photo of the 8th Doctor stood in sort of the TARDIS doorway, where you can see sort of the way the light's catching it makes it have a sort of more bronzy, coppery finish to it. But yeah, it's very, very interesting. So we've got the nice sort of waistcoat, sort of pocket watch painted there. The buttons have been given a slight sort of painted look to them there. You can see the differences, and the trousers are no longer grey. We've been given this sort of beigey sort of grey colour, which I think grey sort of browny colour, which is nice with the nice mottled effect. What we've seen on the 4th Doctor figures, which I think is a bit more accurate to what we see in the TV movie, because I watched that last night, and the shoes are now brown instead of a glossy black, which I think these are more accurate because I think the shoes are blackened in the TV movie. But yeah, it's definitely interesting to see the differences in how the paint apps have been more refined on this Ape Doctor compared to the original one there. But yeah, very nice figure, and I do like it. I really do like this updated TV movie Ape Doctor. It's much more of a comic book stylized thing, because I think that's the thing with the B&M figures, is that they're more stylized, more cartoony nature. I think that really works for the character options line. But yeah, really like this version of the Ape Doctor. So if we move on to the Big Finish one, now he's got a bag, he's got his satchel, which makes it worth picking up just for that alone. So yeah, it's very interesting to get a re-release of a B&M figure from 2019. It feels like that wasn't too long ago, but it's 3 years. So if we bring in the other Big Finish Ape Doctor figure, so we have the one from the revised B&M set, and we have the original one there. So here they are, all lined up. You can see the differences straight away with the jacket. This has a much more of a lighter blue, which I guess makes it pop a little bit more compared to the other one, which I think this is more of a sort of a darker blue finish, which I think, personally, I think I prefer the blue on the original one, but I think this is where it gets quite surprising how we were happy with this Ape Doctor figure, but you can just see how they have refined the paint apps on the face. This is very much night and day, isn't it, if you look at the differences? But this looks more like Paul McGann than that does. That does not do Paul McGann justice, so it is a nice little update. This has more of the Night of the Doctor head sculpt. I think this is a new head sculpt. All the paint apps, it looks like a new head sculpt compared to what this is. This looks a little bit too pea-heady in the nature, but yeah, we can see the buttons are different there. We've got more of a coppery colour scheme to it, very much the same details what we all know and love of the 9th Doctor there. The bag sadly doesn't have any sort of updated paint apps there, but it's nice to finally have. The jeans are a lot more of a darker denim colour. We do have a sort of a slight wash to give it that sort of washed denim look, and the boots are now black, which is very much like the Big Finish exclusive. But they are a matte black instead of a glossy black there. So yeah, it's a nice little updated version. Worth it just for alone for the updated paint apps on the face, which definitely does Paul McGann more justice than this Ape Doctor, I would say. And having the bag is a nice little inclusion. So yeah, cool figure. Do like him. Nice little updated, tweaked version of the Ape Doctor. So you can go. We have the Night of the Doctor. Ape Doctor there, very nice. A lot more muted compared to the original. If we bring in the original one, like so, there's the original one. You can see the difference in the jacket, and I have to say, if we bring in the 13 Doctors one, which is the blooded version, I probably think that this is more accurate to how it appeared in Night of the Doctor, or you could even say Power of the Doctor. You can put this figure with your Jodie Whittaker, which is very cool. So yeah, if we take a closer look at this figure, so if we move the sonic screwdriver down, you can see not much has been changed. The paint apps, this has more of a sort of a lighter grey, no, not lighter grey, lighter brown on the hair instead of this more sort of chestnutty brown on the original. The cravat is a lot more darker, so I guess this does feel more sort of Power of the Doctor-esque. The waistcoat's been given this nice sort of metallic sort of greeny finish, which I think is a nice sort of homage to the TV movie. We've got all the nice paint apps. We've actually got the chain painted this time on this figure, which is great. And the trousers, not too much difference. You can see the boots. I think that this is a lot more accurate. This figure, actually looking at it with the way the costume is, I think that this is a lot more refined version. I think that the paint app on the face just looks a lot better, because I think that this one, the original one, just seems a little bit soft, whereas this one just seems a bit more sharper compared to the first one. So if we bring in the Jam and McGann, you can see the differences there in the costume. But I do like the weathering on the Jam McGann version. But yeah, nice little changes from the original one. I think this is probably the definitive Night of the Doctor McGann figure for me. I think that this is better suited and more accurate to how he appeared in said story. So if we bring in the other McGann figures there, like so, I think that this is a nice updated, tweaked version of the Ape Doctor figure. So yeah, great way of getting some Ape Doctors on your shelves. And yeah, the Dark Eyes one seems like an odd inclusion, but actually putting them side by side, it is very much night and day. So yeah, very good set overall. I'm happy with it. Moving on to the final set, we have the Supreme Dalek, and where's the other Dalek? There he is. It's an invisible Dalek. Yeah, I guess this for many people is what people have wanted from the history of the Dalek set. They wanted the Supreme figure, and they wanted a invisible sort of Dalek, and I think this is where all the money's gone for this wave. So if we take a look at the Supreme Dalek in the comparison format, so if we move, yeah, we'll keep that there. So we have the original one from 2008, one of the first classic Daleks ever to be released in the line. So this is a lot of nostalgia, and it's a great figure, and I'm glad that people can finally enjoy it. So first of all, the gold is a lot different. This is a lot more of a paler gold. It's not really showing up on camera actually. It looks a lot more sort of darker on camera than it actually is in person. But believe me, it is more of a paler gold, and I have to say the original, I much prefer this gold to it actually. I think this is a much more accurate gold, but I will say that the new one does improve something. The dome lights, the jam jars, the new purple dome lights are much more accurate on this, on the new B&M version compared to the Dalek Collector Set 1, but we have lost a little bit of detailing on this, because you can see the original one has sort of a silver detailing under the dome light, which sadly is missing on this new version, which is a bit of a shame. The eye stalk has had some updated paint apps. We've got this sort of silver rim there, which I'm not entirely sure if that was on the actual sort of story, but I think that, you know, it works very well, and it works as a nice little variant. We have had some sort of new tooling for this. Alongside, we've got the new mesh on this one, but we have got rid of the oval, which makes this a much more accurate Supreme in terms of sort of sculpt, and that's sort of the major differences with this Dalek. You can see it's a very nice, empowering Dalek, and I'm probably going to put this Dalek on the 7th Doctor shelf because of the genocide machine. But yeah, it's a nice little updated one. I'm glad that people can finally get this figure and enjoy it, because it's a great one. And obviously, if you had this set, the ball joints were very stiff to move, so it's very difficult. So it's nice to have a Dalek with full free range of appendages where you can move fine. So yeah, Supreme Dalek, very nice figure. If we move on to the Invisible Dalek, which is the main highlight, I love this figure. Granted, you can see the inner workings of how the Dalek toys work and figures work. It's great. It's lovely. It is a really nice updated sort of clear. You know, I think this figure was going to be a sound effects Dalek. I don't think it would have worked, because you would have seen literally the electronics, but it's such a cool figure. And if we don't get the glass Dalek for the Necros set for Revelation of the Daleks, then I'm very happy with this. So if we bring in the Toys R Us anti-light wave reflectant Dalek, you can see that this Dalek is literally just before it got spray painted. It's lovely, very much the same Dalek figure, just without the black sort of spray paint effect on it, which, you know, works very well, looks great. But I guess this is how it more intended on screen. I guess we could get like a completely yellow Dalek and say it's a CSO Dalek, but yeah, this is a lovely Dalek figure, and it really does pop on the shelf, and it really does look very unique. But yeah, not much you can say about this Invisible Dalek. I feel like the eye is different. I feel like there's a new eye stalker. I just think it's just my eyes playing tricks on me. It just seems like this has got sort of a bigger eye stalk compared to the other one. But yeah, it's a lovely Dalek, and just is something very unique and different. What's really going to look great on your Dalek shelf with your other Dalek figures. But yeah, it's just a real cool figure. I guess we just give this Dalek a little bit more love and attention because it deserves it. It's a real cool figure. Yeah, really great figure. I adore it. It's definitely the highlight for me of this wave. So let's do my overall thoughts on this B&M wave, shall we? So there we have it. That is my overview of the summer wave of B&M figures. I have to say that this wave is a lot better in person. I like the 10th Doctor set. It's a weird set. On paper, the 10th Doctor set, it sounds like a great idea, having the updated ball jointed 10th Doctor figure to make a definitive 10th Doctor figure. Sadly, the execution just lets it down. The 8th Doctor set, it harkens back to what the B&M sets were all about, getting hard to get figures and making them more accessible for new collectors. And this History of the Dalek sets continue to be sort of the triumph. The Death of the Dalek set is 90% perfect. If it had like the midsection painted black, and of course the guns painted black on the other sort of drone Dalek, this set would be lovely. But the highlight, of course, is the Planet of the Dalek set, because that's a set people wanted back in November. But we finally have it with the Supreme Dalek and the Invisible Dalek, which is lovely, and I really do like it. The 8th Doctor set, you know, nice little highlight as a TV movie, 8th Doctor, despite the little inaccuracies. I think there's some nice tweaking what's been done there, but I think, you know, the next wave of B&M figures is much more exciting. But yeah, I think that this wave just feels like a little bit of a step backwards from what we've been getting. It feels like this belongs more in sort of 2016, 2017, when the range is trying to find out what it is. I think we've just been spoiled and so used to getting new characters, you know, like Ian Chesterton, Centrite, Devord. I think we've just been spoiled, you know, classic Solarian. So I feel like that's where there's sort of a little bit of mixed emotions towards these figures. But I think the execution's great, and I think that it's an alright wave. It'd be interesting to see what figures out of this wave will reach the top 10. Spoiler, the Invisible Dalek will definitely be on that list. So yes, thank you very much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed this video, then please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time for more Doctor related content. Bye bye.